Hello, Don Johnson here with Protective Tactics. In yesterday's video, I shared the potential of an upcoming food shortage and the reality that there's of the food shortage that many families in the U.S. are currently experiencing. Today, I'm going to share a few protective tactics that our family have implemented to protect against the threat of a food shortage. When everyone else panics and scrambles to the stores, or perhaps are unable to both eat and pay their bills, you should be able to sit back and relax with peace of mind because you have already considered the threat of a food shortage, you've planned, and you've prepared to protect your family. To begin, start with at least enough nutritious food in the house for 3 days. Now, most of us could afford to lose a few pounds, and we could just not eat for a few days and be okay. However, not eating is not healthy and certainly not comfortable. It's better to be prepared. Start with 3 days. What if you couldn't eat out or get what you want from the store for 3 days? Are you prepared? Now, most of us figure we've probably got enough miscellaneous stuff in our food and in our fridge and cabinets that we could get at least something to eat. But I challenge you to actually plan and change your buying habits enough that always keep on hand all the food that you normally eat and would want to eat for 3 days. Now, 3 days requires some change, but it's fairly easy. Since we can survive 3 weeks without food, 3 days isn't a real challenge or concern. But once you've prepared for 3 days and got used to maintaining enough to always have 3 days on hand, as budget allows, step it up to 3 weeks. 3 weeks requires significant change in habits and reprioritizing a little money to get started up front. I recommend everyone to work up to at least 3 months of food storage as soon as possible. For our family, we believe in having enough food on hand for a full year. For most families, though, it takes some months to work up to a full year. I wonder if we still have months to prepare. Let's hope so. At least get started now. Look at it this way. Your grocery list should never include things that you are out of. Your grocery list should only include fresh produce and everything needed to replace used items and maintain supplies for whatever time period you select. I use the FIFO method. FIFO, first in, first out. Use the oldest purchases first and place the newest purchases in the back. Nothing should ever go bad. Another thing to realize is that products that have expiration dates aren't typically unsafe to eat by that date. Expiration dates are typically just the date by which the manufacturer expects the food to still have the same color, texture, and taste as originally intended. Most foods are still good after the expiration, some for months or years. If you are rotating your food using the FIFO method and keeping your expiration dates in mind when considering how much to store, no food should ever expire. I know. Some people say things like, you can't store extra milk. Well, that actually depends on how much you use and how much refrigeration you have or freezer space, not for milk, but for other food, and for how long you're storing. For most families, it takes a little change in thinking and habits, but it's easy to maintain enough fresh food on hand for at least a week. For a longer time period, and take milk for example, there are alternatives like coconut milk, almond milk, and dehydrated milk, which can all be purchased shelf stable with no refrigeration required. You know, the same goes for most all food, even fruits, veggies, and meats. There are dehydrated and freeze-dried versions or substitutes for virtually everything. Most dehydrated food is good for a year. MREs, or meals ready to eat, properly stored, are good for 5 to 10 years. Freeze-dried food is good for 15 to 25 years. In addition to storing enough regular food for at least 3 months, we recommend freeze-dried food for longer time periods. You just add a little clean water to rehydrate it, and it's delicious. I talked about how to always be sure you have enough clean water in a couple videos ago. Most people love freeze-dried food. Now, your kids or your spouse might complain, it's just not the same and I don't like it. Yeah, don't worry about it. Just do what you need to do to protect your family by having enough supplies of food to feed your family in a time of crisis. They won't be so picky when they get hungry. With an average 20-year shelf life, for freeze-dried food, you can literally keep on hand enough food for 20 years if you had enough money and storage space. Of course, a better alternative than storing 20 years of food is to also learn more about procuring and producing food. Many people think that if they get hungry enough, they're gonna hunt and fish for food. Did you know that during the Great Depression in the 1930s, that the deer population in the US was almost wiped out? Now, there are actually more deer in the US now than there were back then. There's also a lot more people. The population in the US in 1929 was like 123 million. Today, the US population is 328 million. Hunting can't feed us all. And I, for one, certainly don't want to be in the woods with a bunch of starving, inexperienced hunters who are desperate to feed their families. Now, I know many families who farm their own chicken and livestock, and some who farm fish too. But that's a lot more time and commitment than I'm willing to spend at this point. But it may be an option for you. Now, if you have any outside space at all, or even a window, you can start a garden. Vertical gardening requires very little space. Start now so you get through some of the learning curve. There's a learning curve to everything. Learn now while seed and starter plants and videos and literature on how to garden are available and plentiful. As with all things concerning preparedness, the key is to plan and implement before it's needed. Gardening is a perfect example of sowing and reaping, the rewards of planning and preparedness. You plant now, but you don't get to eat it for weeks or even months. Get your kids involved so they learn that the concept of planting and harvesting is a crucial life lesson for every aspect of life. If you have a little more space, plant some fruit trees and fruit bushes. Me and my family love harvesting fresh organic fruit and veggies from our property. Eating fresh fruit of all kinds with my grandpa in his garden is among my fondest childhood memories. Another is eating my grandma's strawberry jam on fresh baked bread. By the way, buy some flour, yeast, and salt and learn how to bake bread too. One more thing I want to mention. The primary purpose of food is to supply calories for energy and nutrition for our cells. Nutrition can also be maintained through supplementation. I'm a big believer in daily supplementation just to be sure my body gets all it needs for optimal health. We keep enough supplements in hand for our family for at least a year too. One more thing along the same lines is we enjoy meal replacement shakes. They contain all the nutrition of a meal, taste great, and only require water to make. You can literally store a month's supply of meal replacement shakes in a small bag. Oh yeah, and don't forget some comfort food too. Maybe some mac and cheese, some brownie mixes, some drink mixes like Tang, lemonade, maybe coffee and tea. Remember though, we can only survive 3 weeks without food. Accept personal responsibility for the safety and well-being of your family. Now, I believe in enjoying all the comforts and conveniences of modern living and our country's abundant supplies when times are good. But I also believe that since food is essential to our survival, you should protect your family and be prepared if anything disrupts normal life. Start planning and preparing now. Start building those food reserves. Thanks for walking with me and learning more protective tactics to save your life and save your family in every way. Please use the comments to ask questions and share your thoughts. Please like and subscribe, toggle notifications on, share these with others. Hope to see you again soon. Remember, sooner is safer. Stay safe. Make it a great day. Bye for now.